let's have these for whoever the new AG is. Is this? You're right. Is this a sign that this is going to be the approach?
That's right. And the other thing is that over the years now, some of these survivors, have been asked, "Are you ever going to name names?" And they said, "If it doesn't happen through the government, we will." And you wonder when...
Sean Combs may be walking out of federal prison sooner than anyone expected. Not next year. Not after some clean, triumphant appeals. Within days. And if that happens, the reason will not be mercy. It will not be a legal technicality. And it will not be Donald Trump suddenly discovering a soft spot for people accused of serious abuse. It will be because Diddy talked. He gave them names, parties, rooms, people who were there. People who knew more than they ever admitted. One of the most valuable witnesses the federal system has ever had may have just traded his secrets for a shot at freedom. And if even a fraction of that list becomes public, it could shake an entire generation of Hollywood's most powerful figures. And suddenly, everything starts to make sense. The silence, the delays, the careful language. Because this was never just about one man sitting in a cell. This was about what he knew, and more dangerously, who he knew. Think about it. A man who spent decades at the center of power, hosting the rooms where deals weren't written down, where cameras weren't allowed, where reputations were built and destroyed in the same night. And now that same man is facing years behind bars, unless he becomes more valuable outside than inside.
So what they're saying is, look, if you want to use the Mann Act to people who are moving across state lines for commercial transactions, which again is what it's usually used for, that's one thing. But here, there's no commercial purpose. Diddy lost money. He ended up paying prostitutes. The films were never distributed to anybody. The defense is saying it was for his pleasure and the pleasure of people who may have...
Here is where I stand. Diddy may be making a calculation people make when the walls start closing in. His appeal has been sitting with the Second Circuit since April. The judges reportedly called it exceptionally difficult and have not ruled. His civil lawsuits are still active. His financial empire is badly damaged. He was looking at years more in a federal cell. And then, somewhere along the way, someone may have made him an offer. Give us the names, all of them. Who was at the gatherings? Who participated? Who knew? Who helped cover things up? And in exchange, the most powerful man in America signs a piece of paper and you walk. That appears to be the deal on the table. Diddy took it, and now the people who thought they were untouchable, the billionaires, the A-list celebrities, the executives, the athletes are facing the possibility that their names are sitting in a federal file provided by a man who built his entire career on loyalty and then decided loyalty was not worth another 4 years in prison. Let me be specific about what he may have given them, because this is not just internet noise anymore. The outlines of Diddy's cooperation are becoming visible, and if the reports are accurate, they are staggering. That's the moment everything shifts. Loyalty, gone. Silence, broken. And the question becomes impossible to ignore: what exactly did he give them? Because this isn't random gossip anymore. Patterns are forming. Pieces are connecting. And suddenly the past doesn't look like the past anymore. It looks like evidence.
Now we should say that, remember, Diddy and his team were very upset when they found out that this footage was part of the documentary, and they tried to shut it down, but
the act of taping it is
already
what
out.
is so
the
awful.
act of taping it, right?
Without
Diddy would say that I didn't authorize that video going out, and the argument they've made is that he's the one who has the right, that he owns that.
Federal investigators have been trying to map the network around Diddy for years. They had pieces. Cassie's testimony, Kid Cudi's car firebombing, the hotel surveillance footage, Dawn Richards' account of watching Diddy hit Cassie in a restaurant, while celebrities allegedly watched and did nothing. But they did not have the full picture. They did not have the names of every person who attended the gatherings that were not the public white parties, the private ones, the after parties. The events where things allegedly happened that the people involved have spent years pretending never occurred. Diddy had that list in his head for 30 years. Every person he invited, every person who showed up, every person who allegedly participated, every person who may have looked the other way. And according to sources close to the investigation, he gave them all of it. Now, Donald Trump is expected to sign the pardon. CBS News confirmed the meeting happened Friday. The pardon team, the professional lawyers who usually vet clemency petitions, reportedly did not include Diddy on their recommendation. cooperation list. Trump is personally overriding them. Why? Because the cooperation deal appears to have been cut at the highest level. Diddy talks, Trump signs. The deal is done and buried inside the 250 pardons for 250 years Independence Day spectacle. And just like that, a private list becomes a federal weapon. Names that were once whispered in closed rooms now sitting in official files. Dates, locations, witnesses, the kind of details that don't fade, they resurface. And the most unsettling part? The people on that list don't know when or if their names will be the first to leak.
But this is going to be a great PR thing for Trump. So how do things get leaked? They get leaked when people want you to know what might be happening. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Now, at the same time as this news came, like literally right before this news broke, there was a notice filed by Diddy's attorney, Alexandra Shapiro, who is in charge of his appeal. And they basically just put the court on notice that in 4 to 6 weeks, they're going to be appealing the sentence.
And here is what happens next. The list starts moving. The names start surfacing. The people who thought their secrets were buried forever may be about to learn that the man they trusted, the man who hosted the gatherings, who controlled the spaces, who decided who got access, just traded their futures for his freedom. The panic in Hollywood right now is not a metaphor. Phones are ringing. Lawyers are being retained. Public relations teams are drafting statements they hope they never have to release. And everyone who ever attended a Diddy event that was not photographed for Instagram is asking the same question. Is my name on that list? And that question, that single question, is enough to shake an entire industry. Because it's not just about guilt, it's about proximity, being there, knowing something, saying nothing. And now the silence that once protected everyone is starting to look like something else entirely. Something dangerous, something documented, something that may already be out of their control. The moment the list starts moving, the illusion collapses, and what looked like a closed chapter suddenly feels like the beginning of something much bigger, something no one can control anymore. Because this isn't just about a few names quietly sitting in a federal file. This is about what happens when those names begin to connect, when one story leads to another, when one person decides staying silent is no longer worth the risk. That's how these things spread, not in one explosion, but in a chain reaction. One leak, one confirmation, one unexpected detail that doesn't match the carefully crafted public image. And then suddenly, everything starts unraveling at once. Usher, sent to live with Diddy at 13 years old, saw things he later described in ways that still make people uncomfortable. He talked about rooms where you could open a door and see things a child should never be around. He was also named around accounts involving Diddy and Cassie. His name has been put back into the story again and again. And now, Diddy may have given his version of what Usher saw, what Usher understood, and what Usher did or did not do. Usher, who has spent years carefully managing how much he reveals about that time, may be about to lose his control of the narrative. And that's the pattern. Control, slipping, carefully built reputations suddenly exposed to someone else's version of the truth. Because once one account is handed over, it doesn't stay isolated. It gets cross-checked, compared, expanded, and the people who once controlled their own narratives are now facing something far more unpredictable, someone else telling their story for them. Think about how many names have already started circling again. Old interviews being replayed, old footage being reanalyzed, expressions, pauses, uncomfortable laughter suddenly treated like evidence instead of coincidence. It's not just what was said back then, it's what wasn't said, what was avoided, what was laughed off, what was buried. And now imagine those same moments being placed next to detailed timelines, lists of attendees, private gatherings that were never meant to exist publicly. Suddenly, the difference between being there and knowing something starts to blur. And that blur is exactly where the tension builds. Because this doesn't stop with one person. It never does. Once a system is exposed, attention shifts to the system itself. Who enabled it? Who ignored it? Who benefited from it staying hidden? Those questions don't disappear, they multiply. And each answer creates two more. Behind every headline name, there are dozens more in the background. Assistants who arranged schedules, security who controlled access, lawyers who drafted agreements, people who weren't famous enough to be protected but were close enough to know everything. And if even a few of them decide to speak, the entire structure starts to look fragile. That's why the panic isn't exaggerated. It's calculated. Quiet meetings happening behind closed doors, legal teams preparing statements for scenarios that haven't happened yet, because no one knows where this stops. And that uncertainty is what makes it dangerous. And then there's the the other side of it, the part no one wants to talk about, the cost. Because if this deal is real, if information really is being exchanged for freedom, then something uncomfortable has to be acknowledged. Someone walks away because they were useful, not because everything was resolved, not because every question was answered, but because their value shifted. And that shift changes everything. It forces people to ask whether justice is being served or negotiated, whether truth is being uncovered or traded. And once that doubt enters the conversation, it doesn't leave. Because now the focus isn't just on what happened, it's on what happens next. Who gets contacted first? Who gets ahead of the story? Who denies? Who disappears? Who suddenly decides to cooperate? That's how these chains move quietly at first, then all at once. And somewhere in the middle of all of this, there's still one detail that hasn't fully surfaced. The full list, the complete version, the names that haven't been hinted at yet. Because if even a fraction of what's already circulating is real, then the rest of that list isn't just explosive, it's destabilizing. And here's the part that lingers, the part that refuses to settle. If someone who built their entire empire on access and loyalty decided, at the final moment, that survival mattered more than silence, then what does that say about everything that came before? And more importantly, what does it say about what's still hidden?